Welcome back to the channel, guys. This is Steve, 26 November Echo 34. If you're new around here, please get down, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and do please give us a thumbs up and leave any comments in the comments section. So let's not hold back. Let's get into the update on the RM Italy 703. So guys, the amplifier was collected back at the beginning to the middle of October, and then it was checked over from the shop I bought it from. They said it had to be returned back to RM Italy, in Italy, in order for them to assess and, if need be, repair the amplifier. So yeah, it went back. However, today's date is the 15th of January and I still have not received the amplifier back. However, it is all fully fixed and working, but there has been a couple of hiccups on the way. And I think the results are going to absolutely shock you just as much as they did shock me. So let's recap on what actually happened, and then I'll give you an update at the end of the video. Hi guys, just wanted to do a quick review on this amplifier, the RM Italy KL-703. So I bought this back in April of this year from I'm going to say a local, from a ham shop up north. I won't say the company's name because the issue that I'm having with it, I don't believe is their fault, or somewhat not their fault. So basically, when I bought this amplifier, it said that it needed a 60 amp power supply. So those provided me, or recommended, a 50 amp power supply. Raised it, they went, nope, that's no problems. That 50 amp power supply will work. The power supply is basically the same as that one there, but it was 50 amps, as that one there's 30 for the radio. So they gave us that. Had nothing but issues where the amplifier would just keep cutting out. And in the end, they had said, yes, that power supply is not big enough to run this amplifier, which I knew it wasn't, because the instruction states it needs a 60 amp amplifier, not a 50, in order to run it. So then they said I had to purchase another power supply, which was this one here, which is 60 amps, and it has been working no problems at all. I've just had to disconnect the cables there from it, because the other cables for the amplifiers down in there, and obviously didn't want them being connected, so we've disconnected it for now. So the amplifier had been working fine from that point on. However, the other power supply that I did get with it, the 50 amp, basically every time you keyed up the microphone in order to speak, the power supply would just go dim on the lights, and then yeah, it wouldn't work. I think the power supply had like the normal electrical burning smell for when it's overheating, although it wasn't overheating, or it didn't feel as though it was hot, but basically it couldn't cope with this amplifier. So since I've had the new power supply, it's been working fine, except for last night. So last night I was on 11 meter band, talking as normal, and then all of a sudden, from nowhere, there was a funny electrical burning smell. So I powered everything off straight away, even though I was in the middle of a QSO. My equipment comes first, not the QSO. So basically, I turned everything off immediately, went around smelling all the different bits and pieces that I've got. And this one here, the amplifier, was very smelly at the back, and it's still smelly now, some 24 hours on. So on the instructions, it states that we run it between 1 and 35 watts maximum on all modes, and the output power is maximum of 500 watts. Okay, so I have been running it on 35 watts on the radio. As you can see there, it is always set to 35 watts, and I will only use the maximum power setting, which is this button here in the middle, is the maximum output, which will put it at 500 watts. So when there's a big pile up for somebody, I would turn it on the maximum. I would get in there. When it's actually in there and I'm having the QSO with the station, I then turn the power down onto the 2, which is like the medium power. So I operate mainly on the medium power. So it normally kicks out about 300 to 350 watts according to my meter. Now, my SWR does not move at all. I do a tune on every frequency I go to before actually powering up to talk. And the tuner I use is the LDG AT600 Pro 2. So I always tune from that before actually keying up. Even if I'm just going from 555 and I'm going down to say 550, I will always do a tune on the frequency before talking. Like I say, the SWR does not move at all, that needle. So the SWR is like 1.0, 1.1 max, never higher than that. So I phoned the company who I got it off. I've only had it 6 months. And the guy who I'm speaking to there is basically said, yeah, putting too much power into the amplifier, even though the instructions say 1 to 35 watts max. They're saying that I'm putting in too much power, but that's what the instructions state. So I've followed everything in here to the letter. I've not overdriven it at all. I've done everything that this instruction booklet has told us to. So the company has basically said that they're going to collect the amplifier on Tuesday, because obviously it's Friday today and they don't work over a weekend, and the courier wouldn't come and collect until next week. So, and I'm at work Sunday and Monday daytime, and I'm on Tuesday and Wednesday night shift. So Tuesday is when I'm going to be in the house all day. So they're going to come and collect it on Tuesday. Now, there's not much to this. We have the preamp on and off. I've got the preamp off. Every now and again I'll use that. We've got the power on and off. The power going in and out. So I'm out the radio. We've got it on 2, which is medium power. In the middle, which is 0, is high power. 1 is low power. And then we've got AM, FM, and SSB. And I don't really use AM or FM. If I do, then it's only for listening. I never really transmit on them frequencies. Always SSB. So I'm always on 11 meter band. So there's not much to it. So around the back, we can see there's not much to it at the back either. We have the coax cable and plug that goes from the radio to the amplifier, and then the plug over here that goes to the old antenna. Now, the power cable is quite a thick, heavy-duty power cable. So that's the end that goes on to the power supply here. And underneath here, you can see here is where the cables that go into the back of the amplifier, they're all crimped properly, and they always fully get inserted and fastened up nice and tight. Not too tight, because obviously you don't want to over tighten the screws. So basically had all the correct cabling, etc. So not much really to it. And obviously it's got the 2 heatsink fans on the top to try and keep it cool. And obviously my cupboard doors are always open, except for when everything is switched off. I power everything down and I close the cupboard door. So there's plenty of air circulating around there. There's no reason on why it would overheat. Nothing else overheats. The power supply unit doesn't overheat. That's 2 of them in there. Nothing overheats at all. So like I say, yesterday was talking, and then all of a sudden it just, very horrible electric burning smell. And as you can see, it's never been tampered with. It's still got the RM warranty void sticker on there. So I've never even been inside of it. But when you put your nose to here, you can smell the electrical burning smell. So obviously something has gone inside of the amplifier, but it shouldn't have, because as I say, everything on the instruction booklet has been followed. So the whole point in having an amplifier in my eyes is if it does 500 watts, then you technically should be able to use the 500 watts. However, I've only ever been running it at 35 watts input from the radio to the amplifier, and then it's always been on setting number 2, which is medium power, there, and that's how I've been transmitting. No problems at all, like I say, until yesterday. So a little bit of a review here for the amp. Yes, it was a good amp up until yesterday when it started not to work and let off a bit of a horrible electrical burning smell. So I don't know what the outcome of this is going to be until the shop gets it back and the guy then actually inspects it. But like I say, this amplifier is only 6 months old. Now, he doesn't rate this amplifier at all, and he has recommended an amplifier which that company builds, but that amplifier is over £2,000 each. So that's a lot of money. And I think he said it was up to 1 kilowatt in power. I don't need 1 kilowatt of power. The 500 watts done me, for what I wanted and needed it to do. But yeah, a lot of money, in order to get an amplifier up to 1 kilowatt. Like I say, I don't need that. So yeah, just a bit of a review to let people know with regards to this amplifier. Please do leave a comment if you have one of these amplifiers and whether you've had any issues with them. Just trying to find out whether it is an ongoing issue with this type of amplifier or not. I mean, I struggled, if I'm being perfectly honest, finding a power supply unit to run this. The shop that I bought it off had recommended one, actually sent that one with us, which was the 50 amp one. Didn't work. Wouldn't do what it was supposed to do, even though those recommended it. And then they recommended the one I currently have, which is that one over there, the silver one in the corner, which is the 60 amp power supply. That's the one that then second, but that cost more money to get that one. And like I say, that one's been working fine. So yeah, please let me know if you've had this amplifier, if you've had any issues with it, how do you find dealing with the shop that you got it from, if you did have any issues, and whether it had to go back to RM Italy, and what was their warranty cover like on it. I'm a very open and honest guy. If it's down to me and user error, I would admit that it was down to me. I don't know, let's say I was overdriving it. Let's say that on here it says 1 to 35 watts. If I was putting, say, 40, 50, 60 watts into it, and yeah, absolutely get it. But when I've been running it at 35 watts all the time going in, and you can see it on my videos as well on YouTube, it's always set at 35 watts input because that's what the instructions say max. So I've been putting the maximum power in. So the guy from the shop had recommended I should be putting in around about 10 to 15 watts maximum. But then, you're then spending all that money on an amplifier, and then you're going against what the instructions are telling you, and you're putting in less power, which means you're going to get less power out. So yeah, which then sort of defeats the object in my eyes. But yeah, please do let me know what's what. I will keep you guys updated as and when I get a report back from the shop, and I will make another video then just to explain what's going on with regards to the amplifier. Hopefully it will be covered under the warranty because, like I say, it's 6 months old, and this is now an ongoing issue I've had with the amplifier and the power supply unit. I don't know if the power supply unit that I was originally got had caused some damage inside of it because that's what the shop had recommended, or whether it's just a one-off faulty item. I honestly don't know until the guys at the shop get it back. And then yeah, I'll be able to update you. But yeah, like I say, let me know if you have had this amplifier or know anybody who's had this amplifier, and let me know what the issues were and what the outcome was, etc, etc. So yeah, until then, I hope to hear you on the airwaves if you're on the 11 meter band. So yeah, 73s, take care. So guys, the first thing I'm going to get into is some of the pictures of what I received from the shop that opened up the amplifier. So basically, I sent the amplifier back. The guy at the shop opened it up and then sent me some pictures of what had actually gone wrong. So basically, I put too much power into it. So I followed the instructions saying 35 watts. I was putting 35 watts into it all the time. However, it's 35 watt PEP. Now, I'm going to try and explain what PEP is shortly, because at the time I didn't know. This is a learning curve. It's a hobby. I'm not an expert on this. I've never stated once I'm an expert. And to be quite honest, I'm never going to be an expert. But there is a difference between average and PEP. So I'm going to try and explain this a little bit later on in the video, but for now let's have a look at the pictures. So picture 1, we can see there on the board that I've circled the areas where I don't know what they are, whether they're transistors or something inside of the amplifier has gone. So basically on this part of the picture, I didn't know exactly what I was looking for. So on the next picture, I've circled the areas of where, again, I don't know what they are, but they've basically gone. The board is blown in a nutshell. So let's have a look at the second picture, and then we can have a little look at what exactly has gone on the board. So on this picture here, you can see the 2 areas that are circled in red. I'm not sure what these are, whether these are transistors, outputs, what, I don't know. But this is the area of the board that's gone. So in my head, I just thought that they were going to replace the parts that were blown, but no, they didn't. They replaced the whole entire board at a cost of £150. Now, this is basically a brand new amplifier. There's nothing wrong with the shell, the case, and the buttons, all still like brand new, no marks on them or anything. So all they've done is replace the board, and then they've resealed it and sent it back. And basically, it's a brand new amplifier for the cost of £150. Now, the interesting thing is when RM Italy posted it back to the shop where I purchased it from, ready for them to ship back to me, the guy who works there, who I absolutely trust 110%, really, really good guy, very, very, very knowledgeable, knows everything about everything. He was not happy to send that back because he could hear something rattling around inside of the amplifier. So he says he wasn't happy with it. There's clearly something loose in there that wasn't loose before it was sent off. So he's reluctant to send it back out to me. So basically what he was doing was he was getting in touch with his supplier, who then got in touch with RM Italy to see on what they were going to do about it. A win-win for me would be just to give me a brand new amplifier, and, you know, we would carry on as normal, etc., etc. However, the shop that I purchased this from got authorization from RM Italy to open it, to repair the issue. Well, first of all, to investigate what the issue was, what the rattling was, and then to fix it and then send it back out to me. However, it wouldn't have the official RM Italy seal on the back, so I wasn't happy and I wasn't prepared to actually accept this item back. Bearing in mind, I've just paid £150 in order to get this amplifier fixed from RM Italy. So in a nutshell, I refused to accept it back until it was properly done by RM Italy. It had the official RM Italy seal on the back. I refused to have it back. So anyway, another waiting game. So the guy got permission from RM Italy and the supplier to take apart the amplifier to fix it, and those videoed it. I was sent the video and I was absolutely devastated. I felt let down. I was just gutted that there was no sort of attention to detail there from the likes of RM Italy, who was this big, renowned company. There was no customer service, nothing. I was absolutely flabbergasted. So I said to the gentleman who works in the shop, who I trust, where I purchased it from, I says, how can I make an official complaint? Bearing in mind that this has taken months now to get this amplifier back, and I still haven't got this back, coming up to mid-January. It's absolute, honestly, it's just been an absolute nightmare. So he says, well, to be fair, you can't put a complaint in. We've already raised it with them as well. The supplier has, because this should never have happened in the first place, etc., etc. But they have done it on the cheap for you. Now, regardless whether it was done on the cheap or whether it cost, I don't know, £300 to fix, the point is it's gone to RM Italy. RM Italy has taken this apart. RM Italy have replaced the board, and RM Italy has put the board back together in the amplifier, but not to a good standard. You'll see shortly in the video. So regardless whether it cost £150 for it fixed or £300 or even £1,000, the point is this is not what you expect from a company like RM Italy. So I think it's within the interests of everybody out there to know, if you send your amplifier or any bit of equipment back to the likes of RM Italy, you know, specifically, it may not come back in the same state in which it actually left you. So yeah, Anyway, for the next video, I am going to show you is how RM Italy had returned the amplifier back to the shop in order for it to be returned to me. I am absolutely disgusted. Enjoy the video. Let me know in the comments, guys, what you think of it. I have removed the original audio from this video in order to protect the people in the shop. Again, this is not down to the shop. It's not down to the shop supplier. This is purely down to RM Italy and only what can be described as sheer and utter incompetence. So this isn't aimed at the shop. I don't think it's fair to name the shop or use the guy's name from the actual supplier. This is purely all on RM Italy and the engineer or engineers who had opened this amplifier up in order to fix and repair it. So yeah, anyway, let's get into the video, guys. So basically the shop videoed this in order to try and keep its warranty whilst breaking open the seal so those couldn't get the blame for it. So basically what they're doing here is they're showing that the RM label is still intact. They've undone the screws at the back, they've cut open the label and they're now sliding open the amp. So you can read the words. Those are exactly what the guy is saying. I haven't removed them, I've just removed the noise. So basically he's just saying it's an all-in-one board. He's shocked at that, you know, he was expecting something different. So yeah, so anyway, and then basically, if you can have a look there, it's missing 3 earthen screws. So the main board was not secured to the actual housing. Now, keep watching. Just read what he's saying there. There's one of the screws just lying inside of the amplifier. And what he's saying is that could have been catastrophic. This is RM Italy's work. Changed the board, but you know, they failed to put in the 3 earthen screws. They've basically just been thrown in side of the amplifier. So if you keep watching, he actually finds the other 2 screws when he lifts up the amplifier. All these words that's coming up on the screen is actually what they're saying. I just didn't want you hearing their voices in case anybody uses that shop and identifies it, because obviously it's not the shop's fault. So there's the 3 earthen screws in order to secure that board. And that cost £150. And those thought that it was acceptable for a customer to have their amplifier returned in that state. I'm honestly beyond words. But yeah, absolutely shocking. Has anybody else out there had any work done by RM Italy and had similar issues when their equipment is being returned? Please drop a comment down and let me know. So what is PEP? Well, PEP stands for Peak Envelope Power. Now, I'm not an expert on this. This is just something I've done research on, looked online, watched some YouTube videos, had a look at my own power meter that you can see here, and this is my understanding of what PEP is, okay? So it's Peak Envelope Power. So peak envelope power is the average power supplied to an antenna transmission line during one RF cycle at the crest of the modulation envelope, okay? Now, in simple terms, when you speak, your voice is very unique to an individual. Now, it's made up of several different factors. So it's made up of your pitch, the volume in which you speak, the articulation, the resonance, and the timbre. So all of those have an impact on everyone's voice. Now, everyone's voice is different. So if we look at the amplifier and it said it was 35 watts PEP, which is the maximum input power, I would recommend only inputting into this amplifier 25 watts at the absolute maximum, 28 watts. And that is to allow for your pitch, your volume, articulation, the resonance and the timbre of your unique voice. Okay, now I've set my radio to 10 watts. So as you can see there, we are set at 10 watts and this is just to show you on the power meter, and I have the power meter set at 20 watts. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to show you on this meter what PEP is. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to change my pitch, my volume, my the resonance, the articulation, and the timbre of my voice, and we're just going to keep an eye on that power meter, and we're just going to show you. So I'm going to start talking quite quietly, and then I'm going to start talking normally, then I'm going to start shouting, and you will see the difference between your voice, okay, of how your voice will dictate the amount of power that your RF carrier is carrying out. It would probably be better if we could actually see the RF carrier. There's a couple of pictures that I'll put on now so you can see what it looks like at the peak of what it is that you're actually talking, okay, what it is you're actually seeing. Okay, so let's just have a look at this. So I'm just going to count from 1 to 5, and I'm going to do it quietly, then I'm going to do exactly the same normally, and then I'm going to do exactly the same loudly. And all I want you to do is keep an eye on this needle here, okay, and this is going to dictate the power. Okay, now this is on sidebands, so you're going to see the needle bouncing around. If it was on FM, it would just be a constant. Okay, so yeah, so this is what we're talking about when we're talking about PEP, the peak envelope power. Okay, so let's start it off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so that was quietly. I'm going to do it now normal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm going to do it now loudly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so let's go back to quietly and just have a look to see what the maximum the needle goes to. So as you can hear me there, or you can see me speaking, you can see that needle bouncing around. So let's just do it quietly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's peaking around about the 4. Okay, so let's do it normally. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that's peaking around about 6 or 7. So let's try and do a very loud one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's bouncing 9 to 10 and sometimes going beyond 10. Okay, and that's with my RF power on my radio only set to 10 watts. You can see the needle jumping around. So when you're talking and we're looking at the likes of your pitch, your volume, articulation, your resonance, and your timbre of your your unique voice print, because that's what it is. Everyone's voices are different. Everyone speaks at different volumes. Everyone pronounces words differently. You can see there it bounces around on the needle on sidebands. Okay, so let's just do the same thing, but we're going to do it on FM. So let me just change the mode on my radio to FM. Okay, so I've not actually tested this before. I'm doing this live in front of you now. So let's just have a look at what it is on FM. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, the needle's gone straight solid. It's not moving at all. So FM is a solid output signal. With sideband, it literally bounces around depending on your RF carrier. So let's have a look on AM. The RF power on that automatically goes to 25, so let's just change that down to 10, and let's do the same on AM. Okay, so it's a solid, it moves solid. Okay, at 8 watts there, even though the radio set at 10, there's a 2 watt difference. Okay, so let's just go back onto FM and check the power output on that. Just find the power output on the settings. RF power, yeah, it was set to 100 watts. That's why it went straight all the way at the back. So let's try turn it down to 10. Okay, so that's now set at 10 as well. So this is FM. So there we go. That's it. 8.5, 9 watts. Okay, but it's solid. So you can see I'm speaking. The microphone is keyed up. I'm talking. The needle's not bouncing around. So that's going to put out a solid 8 watts. Okay, but on sidebands, on SSB single sidebands, your modulation, it bounces around. So that's what it means by PEP. So it's whatever your volume, your pitch, your tone, etc. all has an impact. So if you think that I had, according to the set of instructions that were given by RM Italy, for those who don't know what PEP is, it's very easy to actually mess up. So if I'm putting in 35 watts and I'm talking normal, because I have a loud voice anyway, it's all to do with my background of when I was in the military and having to learn to project your voice and, you know, be confident in order to speak in front of a large group of people. So that's just the way I speak. In actual fact, even though I was putting 35 watts into that amplifier, which is its absolute maximum, on the occasion when I'm talking, it was actually exceeding the 35 watts on single sidebands SSB. Because as you can see there, it was actually going over, you know, the actual power. And it's all to do with your rhythm, your pitch, your speed, your tone, your volume, your articulation, your resonance, your timbre. All has an impact on what pep is and how pep is actually delivered through your radio. Obviously, there's other factors in and amongst all of that. You know, your equipment, you know, what you can put through it, etc. It all has a massive input. However, that's my understanding of pep. I'm pretty sure that there'll be somebody out there that disagrees with what I've said, and those will have a different take on it. But that's my opinion, and opinions are like arseholes. Everybody has one, okay? But that's my version of what pep is. And like I say, you know, if you go back to the picture and have a look at what it is when you're talking and you're looking at the carrier, you know, that's actually carrying your voice. It starts off small, gets wide at its absolute peak, and then starts to get small again when you stop talking. So yeah, so peak, envelope, power. Hope this has been helpful. If you do have the RM Italy KL-703, my recommendation to you would be maximum 25, 28 watts at the absolute most, and just be careful of what you're saying and how you're saying it, and keep an eye on that power meter, guys. I would hate for anybody else to have, you know, to actually spend that money on an amplifier and end up breaking it just because they didn't understand what pep was. Like me, like I say, you know, I'm not an expert in any of this. You know, this is all a learning journey for me as well. And if my mistake can help somebody else out from preventing them from making that mistake, then hey, you know, to me, that's what the hobby's about. It's about sharing different experiences, helping each other out, and preventing others from damaging their expensive equipment, because it is expensive equipment. You know, it's not cheap. It's a hobby, and you know, everybody learns at different rates. But like I say, there'll be somebody out there that'll say I'm wrong, but hey, you're entitled to your opinion as I am to mine. So yeah, that's my understanding of pep, guys. Let me know in the comments your thoughts of RM Italy's repair and or lack of securing that board. But please do give us a thumbs up. Get down, leave a comment, and please subscribe and hit that notification bell. It helps me, guys. It helps me build my channel, and allows me to get different equipment to test, etc. You know, before anybody else goes and spends astronomical amounts of money on equipment. But yeah. Okay, guys, I'm going to leave it there because I'm rambling on a bit. 73s and 51s, take care. Catch you on the airwaves. Take care.